Analysts predict a 100 basis point interest rate hike, and the EU forecasts record inflation for 2022 and 2023. You're watching the Daily Brief with Forbes. I'm Ramia Faraj. The U.S. Federal Reserve will likely implement a 100 basis point interest rate hike at its upcoming meeting. That's the sentiment of analysts as U.S. inflation surged to a fresh peak of 9.1% in June. The Consumer Price Index spike over the last 12 months was the fastest increase since November 1981. Energy contributed half of the monthly increase as petrol jumped 59.9% over the past year. Overall, energy prices posted their biggest annual rise since April 1980. The European Commission is predicting record levels of inflation and slashed its GDP forecast for 2022 and 2023 due to the Ukraine war, lower demand, surging prices, and the danger of winter energy shortages. The Commission now expects inflation to jump 7.6% in 2022, higher than its May estimate of 6.1% for this year. It also expects inflation to rise 4% next year, up from May's forecast of 2.7%. GDP is expected to advance 2.6% this year, down from its May prediction of 2.7%. This comes as the euro hovers at parity with the US dollar. The IMF has agreed with Pakistan to resume a suspended loan program that will inject $1.17 billion into its struggling economy. The IMF says the agreement, which is still subject to board approval, will bring $4.2 billion and could increase to $7 billion. An original $6 billion bailout package from 2019 was repeatedly stalled when the government pulled back from subsidy agreements and failed to improve tax collection. Crypto investment platform Celsius has filed for bankruptcy in the U.S. a month after it froze withdrawals from its platform in the latest sign of an industry in turmoil. Celsius suspended withdrawals in mid-June and says without the freeze, customers who were first to act would be paid in full while leaving others behind. It says it has $167 million of cash available to meet urgent needs in the meantime while it restructures. Sweden's Ericsson saw a rise in Q2 core earnings but missed expectations as increased component and logistics costs hit margins. The company's quarterly adjusted operating earnings rose to $689 million from $550 million a year earlier. But Ericsson missed analysts' forecast of $760 million, according to Refinitiv data. Japanese electronics giant Panasonic will spend $4 billion to build a new battery factory in the U.S. for electric vehicles. The lithium-ion battery plant in Kansas could create up to 4,000 new jobs as the Tesla supplier drives to expand its presence. Panasonic says with the increased electrification of the auto market, expanding battery production in the U.S. is critical to help meet demand. The factory will be Panasonic's second EV battery operation in the U.S. BP aims to start producing sustainable aviation fuel in Australia by 2025 after converting its oil refinery near Perth to produce renewable fuels. Officials say they expect the project to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. BP hasn't disclosed what volume it plans to produce, but output would depend on demand, as the facility would be able to switch day to day between producing sustainable aviation fuel and biodiesel. Netflix will work with Microsoft to launch a cheaper subscription plan that includes ads. Netflix opted to develop the lower-cost offering after a disappointing first quarter in which it lost subscribers for the first time in a decade, and after years of resistance against the very idea of running ads. Microsoft will design and manage the platform for advertisers on Netflix. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation intends to increase its annual payout by 50% over pre-pandemic levels to $9 billion annually by 2026. It's the result of 2 decades of generous contributions from Bill Gates, Melinda French Gates, and Warren Buffett. The foundation says this decision responds to compounding global crises, including an ongoing pandemic that has stalled or reversed 2 decades of stunning progress towards ending preventable disease, improving education, achieving gender equality, and reducing poverty around the world. I'm Ramia Faraj. This is the Daily Brief. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.